and trained with a few and worked with a few of you. So yeah, Deb's just asked me to come and do this talk. I've just literally started getting used to doing online and doing Zoom stuff. It's been very foreign to me, probably like a lot of you, before lockdown came. So who am I? I've been in nursing since 1996, and I left I was in Australia over December and January, and I decided to give me a licence up on the 1st of January 2020, so at 10 a.m. Australia time, which was midnight UK time. I gave him a notice. I thought 2020 is the year to start because I felt like it was keeping me in a dependency mode. I could do nursing and other doors wouldn't open, so it was time to let go. And also because I'm a bit of a truth speaker, I like to speak the truth about what's happening in the world. And I was under the NMC, which can basically pull you in for it. So I thought this is time to be free and be who I am, be what I'm here for. So what I wanted to do today was a talk about, because it took me quite a long time to understand this, and how did I get to it, about trauma, because my journey has been for the last, I don't know, so that journey about 4 years ago. So it probably started then, but it's rapidly got quicker in the last year, even 6 months. It's really, really got fast. I'm working with trauma. So I was working with myself initially, because that's where I needed to start. I felt I couldn't work with other people until I cleared. I'm not clear. I had started to clear a bulk of what I was carrying, because I had to walk my walk to speak my talk, sort of thing. So I spent the good last year, probably the main bulk of it, really, really engaging in self-work. And I did this through the anime training that I'm on, because we go across to Belgium for 5 days, 5 times a year, and we get intensive work done on this, where, you know, it's hard. It's not an easy ride. And I trained in breathwork and a number of nutrition, acupuncture, just a range of things. And I was doing a lot, and I wondered, now I can see where they're all coming from, because I've got my toolbox with me now that I work with. So yeah, I gave my licence up in January, and started these breathwork groups up and started seeing clients, and then lockdown came. So it was like, right, where do we go from here? And I also did some training in Australia with the Aboriginals, which is called holographic kinetics. And this seemed to have a major effect on my life. It seemed to, it went back into the past and changed a lot of things. And I thought, how can I can't work with that because it's one-to-one work. So what else could I do to sort of incorporate that? So I'll come into that later. And the trauma side, I'm so interested in trauma, because everyone's traumatized. Everyone is traumatized. There's no one is in this world without trauma. And most people don't realize it, because we're completely shut off from our head and our bodies. We're not connected at all. We live in our heads, we're disconnected from our bodies. So as time went on, I wanted to really understand what was going on, because I had all this stuff coming out of me, and it was like, what's going on, what's happening, you know. How I first come to realise I had this trauma was by a different method than most people do. It's through plant medicine, which showed me I was carrying all this stuff in my body, and it was keeping me back and keeping me stuck. So from that moment, I decided I was going to work with it and change my life. So, so going back, if we go back to when we're in mother's tummy, I can't. It's a bit harder because I've got a what do you call it, presentation, but I can't do it because it's not on my Zoom sort of thing to explain it better. But I'll explain it as best I can. And just go like that if you don't understand me or want to ask anything, or at the end, and I'll try and explain. Sorry, my mouth's going to try there. So basically, when we're in utero, this is where it all starts, with mother. So whatever mother is feeling is what's happening with us. So I'm going to give you 2 examples here. So we're going to have child A and child B. So child A, planned pregnancy, mother is really happy, content, wants baby, they've got the money financially side, they get on really well. So babies, and eats well and nurtures, so the baby's really well nurtured in the womb. And because baby picks up all emotions from mother, what's going on. Born into the world, they have that connection. Now this is probably very rare. Mother, when feeding, either breastfeeding, bottle feeding, holding baby, if they have that full contact, that full eye-to-eye contact, which is so, so important, not distracted, mother isn't traumatised, but that full contact is going on. That is that first window of what's the self-confidence, self-belief, and all that is going on with that baby at that moment. They're so super sensitive to the caregiver. So this baby, you know, this child goes on and goes to school and everything's lovely, everything's working out for them, you know. So they have what they call a good resilience. So if stuff happens to them in their life, they can cope with it quite well. Because we know people that cope well and we know people that don't cope well. So we'll move on to child B. So it could be an unplanned pregnancy, it could be a planned pregnancy, but like, I'll use myself as an example to explain it, which is, you know, it was what it was at the time, as I knew best is what I did. I was 22 when I had my first child, I'm 47 now. And I was in a bad relationship, really bad relationship. My partner actually died of a drug overdose. So that was one of my traumas, obviously. And we argued a lot. So I couldn't connect to myself, couldn't connect to the baby. I didn't breastfeed, I bottle fed, and there's nothing wrong with bottle feeding, I'm not saying that, but it's just that I never had that contact. And it's even worse now because we've got these mobiles, so what people are doing is feeding and on the mobile phones, so the connection's not going on with baby. So when all this is happening, the child starts to withdraw because the first point of contact is the eyes to mother to baby. The baby starts to withdraw. And they call this, and it's called the oral segment of us. So they disassociate, or you see maybe people with the bulging eyes or the closed eyes. You know, we can see a lot through the eyes because it's the window to our soul. And what happens, and we start to store this energy in our, and it goes around from our eyes to the back of our, the ocular, at the back of our heads. And so we hold all this tension. This is where all this work can come in, where we work with the breath work and the body work sort of thing to release this tension. And again, with the oral, because the oral is where we feed from mother or bottle. And if them needs aren't met, and we all do it, know it, we become the drinker, the smoker, the overeater, because we're trying to get them needs met that we never got as a baby. So this child that comes in and doesn't have this connection, and mother and father say are arguing all the time, you know, they don't feel safe, they're not safe in their own bodies, not safe in the house, maybe parents split up or anything like that. They have a very unresilient landscape. So we've got two types of people here. So it's really, really, you know, you'll see it with people, you know, we might have somebody in, say, road rage, you know, say somebody will cut me off now, it's not a problem, it's fine. I just let it go, it's not but you can see somebody absolutely loses it. And that is because they have this resilience thing and this top up of all this stuff going on inside them, so it gives them an outlet very quickly. All right. It's like we have this seed of somebody plants the seed, you know, from the ages really important, 0 to 7. And when somebody says something to you, which is negative, could say loads and loads of positive stuff, that one negative thing like, you're ugly, that seed is planted and it grows. So it then becomes a belief. So this is where, you know, our negative self-beliefs come from as well. It doesn't matter if that child is absolutely beautiful and grows up absolutely beautiful. If that belief is in there until it's worked on, or until something's done with it, it's there, and that's their belief. And so that's what we talk about these. So this is the two things. So when you've got this, when we come as we get older, when we get into teenagers, adulthood, whatever, it starts to cause the problems that we start to see, like anxiety, depression, OCD, addictions, anger, fear, huge at the moment, what's going on, you know, fear. That's another one. So extreme reactions, that was me. I was like that. Somebody would say a little thing to me and I would fly off the handle. I'd have rage coming out of me out of nowhere, and something would just go huge. So this was because I had such an unresilient landscape from a child, which I didn't know about. I had no clue about at all. I thought I had a lovely childhood, you know, because I had no concept of it all. So I did this for a couple of years before, but I'll show you because it's interesting. I think it's interesting, and hopefully you'll be able to see it. Okay, yeah. Because what happens, we have these windows of tolerance. They call them windows of tolerance. Right, if I put that there, can you see it? Yeah, right. So this is our window of tolerance. This is our parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight and flight. And this is our rest and repair, but the freeze is actually in here as well. So normal landscape, we call it landscape, this is your resilience. So you get up in the morning here and do a bit of meditation and yoga, because that's what we all do. And we go here because it's nice, we're calm, we're relaxed, we're in delta state, etc., etc. And then as the day goes on, kids start to play up a bit, so we go up there, and then they get rid of them, so we go back down there. And all day long, this is what happens. But we're okay because we're staying in this window of tolerance. We've got coping mechanisms, probably all we've got at the moment. We all cope quite well with, you know, we've got tools in place and resources in place to cope. So that even if something here, a shock trauma happens, like COVID-19, we'll use that, we're able really, we might come out, but we're able to come back in quite easily. So here, this is the unresilient landscape. So I've got, you know, the parasympathetic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, same thing. So you start off here, so if the kids play up, you come out, and then you might drop back in, and then something else happens that you can't deal with, so you come out, and you might go back in. But you're never really reaching down here. We come in, we're like this all day long, this stress and anxiety. So we're coming out of it. And this is because our window of tolerance is so small. And this was me, seriously, this is me, and this is me now. I know that for a fact, you know, so different because of the work I've done. So if you have a shock trauma here, we go off the scale and we can't cope, or we drop right down here and we go into freeze mode, which is into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a whole another long thing. Yeah. So the aim is to come from here to here, so we can cope with things that's happening in this world, basically, and not see what we're seeing. We know change, huge change is desperately needed at the moment, and it starts within us. So I'll quickly try and explain now. I don't know what time, am I all right in time? So when we've got this unresilient landscape and something outside happens, our senses pick it up. So, you know, and it takes it through to the thalamus and then to the amygdala. Anything smell-wise goes straight to the amygdala, where that picks up if it's lost my word then, a trauma or non-trauma. If it's non-trauma, then it just gets stored as a memory. If it's a trauma, then in the amygdala, it's a bit harder to explain without diagrams, this. We have neurons. The neurons are messengers throughout the spinal cord and the brain that sends all the information backwards and forwards. And when this emotion passes through the neuron into the synapse, between two neurons is the synapse, this emotion is picked up, and what they call an AMPA receptor comes out. The neuron sits on the end of the postsynaptic, the next neuron it's going to, and literally glues this trauma into the neuron, glues it. So you can imagine all the stuff that we've had in our life go on, all the things we've been told, you know, they're all in it, they're all stuck in here, and they're all held in the body through energy. So, you know, this is why we're constantly triggered and reacting to stuff without being aware, because it's very unconscious for a lot of people that we're getting triggered, and, you know, we have these outbursts and stuff, and it's all because of what's held. Because when we get triggered, it doesn't go through the normal pathways, through the thalamus to the amygdala, it goes straight to the neuron instantly, and we're triggered. That's how it's so quick and so instant. And so it's like, you know, there's so much stuff out there, there's so much brilliant stuff, and I'm not a one thing fixes all. I think there's a toolkit of things for people to use, but I'm just talking from my point, you know, what I've done. I mean, I tried so many stuff initially, but because I was so armoured and so protected, nobody could get into me, because I was so hardened. They couldn't get into my heart, because if somebody got into my heart, it would bring emotion. I didn't breathe properly, because if you're breathing properly, you're touching into emotion. It lets your emotion come up. We hold our breath to stop emotion. So it took a lot of work for me to be sort of what I would say broken down. And once it comes, it comes. And it's, yeah, I think it's beautiful now to be vulnerable and emotional, and you know, rather than this very stoic person I was. And I still have, you know, I'm not going to hold my hands up. Sometimes there's still times where I can close off, but I'm aware of it now, and I'll do something about it. And so what I was going to say, through the breath work and the anime, which I did, which I can't do at the moment because it's one-to-one work, that, and you're on the body. So I've moved into the breath work, where it's somatic breath work, where I do it online, and we can teach you how to do the body work on yourself. It's very, very, very effective. And I've done additional training, which does more than what my anime did as well. So it starts, for example, when we do this, it starts to open up all this. It starts to release what's going on around the eyes, around the mouth, around the jaw. We all know, well, you know, jaw, anger, tension in jaw. I've had terrible problems with my teeth, and because it all to do with this, the oral. I mean, I smoked for years and years and years, and you know, eating, emotional eating, something going wrong, I'll eat to, you know, I mean, I'm aware of it, and it still can happen, but the awareness makes the difference as well. And now I have problems with teeth. You think, oh, what's going on with my teeth? I look after my teeth really well. It's all part of this oral thing. So we work with all this. We work the throat, opening up the speech, opening up the truth, so we can see the truth, the neck, and then we go down the body, but it's obviously in different things. But so that's one of the things I do with the breath work. And then since the lockdown, I trained it. I met a doctor in New Zealand called Camilla on this course I did. And we got on really well. She told me about this havening. And they always say right time, right place, you know. Now, what is something that was similar to this holographic kinetics that I could work with, moving, you know, this past trauma out, going back into stuff, and anyway, she told me about this havening, and it literally unglues these trauma, the trauma of the neurons in the brain. It's scientifically proven. It was done by 2 doctors over 10 years. Paul McKenna, actually, I'm showing yesterday, did a talk on it, because he was the one that told the doctors about this, you know, about EFT, sorry, and they went and researched it, then they sort of just did more work, and they came out with this havening, but they did a lot of research to show scientifically, because they were doctors, that removes the trauma. So it's basically a work with moving the trauma from the body, the energy from the body, to disperse it equally, because it gets clumped up. And this is where I totally believe physical diseases come from, holding this energy, and to remove it from the amygdala in the brain. That's a lot. I've gone there. Hope you understood that. Trying to think if there's anything else I can.
Don't worry. I mean, Sarah, what we can do is could ask people if they've got any.
Yeah, go on, Deborah.
We can ask people if they've got any questions if you want now. Question, you know, for what you've said. It's really fascinating that.
Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, this is. We're talking everyone. We're talking the whole population here. This will be a journey I'm on for the rest of my life. It won't stop. There's always stuff to work with, you know. And I try and do something every day to bring, you know, to let stuff out. I mean, a great example was that yesterday, you know, I felt quite irritated. There was something irritating me. I didn't know what it was. I'd been out on a bike ride. I got caught in hail, and I came back, but there was something. So I used, I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it. But I've got a punch bag, so I went in the punch bag to bring that anger up, to bring it to the surface a bit more. And then I worked with the havening. And I'll quickly show you a very simple technique, because if you feel stressed or anything, to use, because it's so effective. And you can use positive affirmations and everything with this. If you know, if people are into law of attraction and anything like this, it's just an added extra onto it. And it's literally just, I won't tell you to close your eyes because you won't see what I'm doing. Just put your arms like this, and you literally just stroke down the arms. You'll be closing your eyes with this. You stroke down the arms, and if you've got negative self-beliefs, you can work with it this way. You can just, you know, I mean, a lot of people can't say I love myself, but you could say, what would it feel like to love myself? To start with, what would it feel like to love myself? Or I love myself. And just repeat it. Just keep repeating it. Or if you feel angry, this is what I did. I would use the word angry. I'd be angry, 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 till it loses its power. And then I'll bring in a positive word, and I'd use that and change it over. And the other one you can do it, because these all bring in a delta wave to the brain. This is where the changes can take place. As you just get your hands, and it's on your palm, and you just literally, you just rub them like that. And carry on saying whatever you need to say, you know, I'm brilliant, I'm fantastic. Say all them words, because we're all brilliant, we're all fantastic. We've all got gifts, so we just keep them wrapped up. And then the last one, I've taken the glasses off. It's just down the face. And this is a lot to do, you know, our mother was smooth baby. And just to, interestingly, this is one that doesn't get me as much, and I wonder it's because my mum didn't do this to me. Maybe I like this. I find this very comforting. I think it's very, you know, it's a bit of a self-hug, isn't it? It's very comforting. Yeah, and just swap them over as you're doing them. Just nice little. Yeah, there you go. You can talk again now, Debs.